1, 2, 3,
record.
Perfect.
There you go. You can sync that up. That's how we do it for our D&D game. We go 1, 2, 3, and then we all say sync.
Oh, you got one of those?
Yeah, so we all record from different parts of the world. So we got some people in Canada, some people in Texas. I'm in California. But the way we sync it up is somebody counts 1, 2, 3, and then we all say the word sync together. And it'll sound weird on Discord because we're all at different latencies. But when the editor goes in, he'll just line up the word sync, and that lines up all 4 hours of the podcast.
Awesome. Cool. So I just want to say welcome to our listeners. I'm Simon Viklund, Narrative Director at 10 Chambers, the developers of the game GTFO. I'm here talking to the voice actor who portrays the character of Woods in the game. I'll let him introduce himself. What's your name? Where are you from? And maybe list a few games or other projects you've been a part of.
My name's Edward Bosco. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and some of the things you might have heard me in is Alistair in Has Been Hotel, Ed in Street Fighter V, Chip in Guilty Gear, and a bunch of other stuff. IMDb is your friend. Google it.
Nice. Lovely. Do you consider yourself a gamer?
I am. Yeah, I like to think that I'm one of these new age actors who plays the stuff they're in sometimes. Like, I enjoy Street Fighter, and I play a lot of sports games, and I love first-person shooters. I'm an RPG guy, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, Final Fantasy. So yeah, I would consider myself a gamer. I love playing Halo. I grew up on Halo. Halo was when we talk about first-person shooters, that was the GoldenEye for a generation. So you remember GoldenEye 64 on the Nintendo 64?
Oh yeah,
that like everybody was playing that. Like, you would go to your friend's house, you'd want to play it. I'm going to play with that. Get the golden gun. And then I feel like Halo for like the next generation, that was kind of because everybody was playing the multiplayer, and it was all about getting the Magnum in the first Halo, and it felt like the golden gun. But I never really got off the Halo kick. I've been on and off lately because I won't go into too much detail, but I haven't been the biggest fan of Halo recently, but the Master Chief Collection brought me back into it. I used to play it professionally for a very short period of time.
Oh, cool.
So Halo was big in terms of first-person shooters. Doom, I grew up on Doom. I played the new Doom. I got to be in the new Doom. I love Doom. I love that setting. And that's one of the reasons why I love GTFO, because I love those shooters that have that just very gritty, demonic, weird twist to them.
Yeah.
So because I like Doom and because I like stuff like Duke Nukem, and then GTFO is kind of in that vein, I'm like, yeah, this is right up my alley. In terms of RPGs, I mentioned Mass Effect, Dragon Age. I love story-driven RPGs, like intense, really well-written stories that sometimes span over a couple games. That's one of the reasons I love BioWare. I thought they did a really good, like with Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars. They did fantasy. They did Mass Effect, which was, sci-fi. They did Dragon Age, which was high fantasy. So I love that stuff. I love good storytelling in games. And then sports games, which people would argue that's not a real video game, but I love sports, so I can't help myself.
And we already know you play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep, tabletop stuff. I love that. I got a stream that I do on Wednesday nights called The Unexpectables. That's 7 o'clock PST on twitch.tv/The Unexpectables. And then we do another show on the same channel on Saturdays, which is Modern Fantasy, called The Prince Division. And it's great. I love it. It's more chances for me to perform just in a different medium.
Yeah. So you played the game GTFO, that is, back in 2018 when we came to E3 with it, right?
Yeah, so I played the game, and I've watched a bunch of my friends play the beta version now that the beta's out. So I got to see it from both ends. I got to play it, and I got to watch people play it.
Do you ever play GTFO now? Because we gave you codes, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've played it recently, but I would like to. In fact, I would love to stream it and be able to get like a team of 4 guys together and just play through the game as Woods and see what happens and get people's live reaction. Because there's nothing quite like playing the game when you're in it, especially if there's any kind of multiplayer feature, because then you can mess with people and like get on the mic and be like,
oh, yeah.
Hey, I got something over here. What? Who hit the button? I don't know. What happened? Get better at the game, scrub. That's not a line that we recorded. What?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'd love to see that. If you ever play the game on stream, we will definitely signal boost that.
Oh, yeah. I'll tweet about it. Absolutely. I'll tag you guys.
For sure.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit of how you initially interpreted the character of Woods.
Woods was always somebody who felt like he had a lot more deep trauma that he had just buried. He's the typical tough guy where there's a lot underneath the surface that you don't get to see, but it's kind of just simmering there. But every now and then you get glimpses of it. And it was interesting because there was also the religious side to him where he was hardcore Christian, and that was a deep part of his faith. And what I think is really cool is now that I have more information on him, I realize what that all entails. And it's more than just him being like a religious nut, which is nice. Like, it's an aspect of his character, but it is not his character. But I always like the guys who have all that trauma and all that stuff underneath the surface, because then as you go through a game, you slowly chip away at the exterior and get to the core of what their damage is and why they're here.
Yeah, that's the idea. So with his next update, we're going to reveal more about the backstory of all the characters.
And I'm excited.
And for the last recording, the latest recording, I'd say, that we recorded in late February this year, 2021, you became privy to a lot of more of Wood's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Without going into details about the material itself, tell us about your initial reaction to it.
I didn't realize it was going to be that dark. I mean, like, I knew it was going to be bad, and it's a very dark game to begin with, but when I was reading over the material, I went, oh, this is heavy, and this is twisted, and this is messed up, but not in a way that I feel like is just going to be shock value. Like, there's depth to it. And so I really enjoyed playing that side of him. Like, we talked about chipping away at who Woods is, because he keeps everything under the surface. This is a great opportunity to be like, oh, now I understand more of what you've been through, and I understand why you think the way you do, and I understand what's happened to you. And because of all that, I can almost sympathize with you, I think. Like, that's the weird thing. Like, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not people can sympathize with Woods, or whether they're going to be like, nah, he's a piece of crap.
They'll love him still, I'm sure.
I hope. I really hope.
I try to be active on the forums and sort of lurk at least and see what people think about the game and how it could be improved. And some of the feedback has been about the fact that they don't know the characters that well. So we really wanted to focus on that in this next update. Mm-hmm. And that goes for all of the 4 playable characters. I sent you the backstories for the other 3 characters.
Oh, yeah, I read them over.
So without spoiling anything for the players, what are your thoughts on them?
So what I like about the backstories, because all of them are twisted in some way, I think that just fits the way that the game is portrayed. Like, it's a dark, gritty kind of a game.
Yeah.
So you would expect, like, oh yeah, these guys have all been through stuff. But what I liked is the stuff that they have been through, while it makes sense why they all came together at this particular point in time when the game starts. Not all of them have a stereotypical backstory that you would expect. There are other people where I read it, and you could even maybe put my character in this category of like, okay, I kind of understand how you ended up here. Whereas there's other people who are like, man, the punishment didn't fit the crime, I guess would be the way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm excited to see, is to see who in the community that plays the game, who they decide to be like, yeah, I sympathize with what happened to you, and who they're like, oh no, you've been awful from the start and I don't like you. Like, even if it's an interesting character, like there are some characters where you're just like, yeah, I hate that guy, but for the right reasons, because you're awful.
Yeah. So how do you think the GTFO players will react when they uncover the players' characters' backstories in this next update?
I mean, the way that I hope it goes is, if I understand how it's going to be utilized, it'll be like piece by piece, you'll find sections of all of these different guys and what they've been through. My hope is that it at least gives some light into how they ended up here. Whether or not you sympathize with them being in this situation is completely up to you based on what they've gone through. But my hope is, at the very least, it makes them interesting, and it makes you want to dive deeper and continue to find more information. Be like, oh, that's a nice little nugget. What else is there?
Yeah, absolutely. What was it? I remember I asked you, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but on the very first recording session, I said, this is the part of your reel. There was a specific part of your reel that indicated that you had this great screaming voice. And I was like, that sealed the deal. Someone was throwing a frisbee or a ball for a dog or something?
Yeah. So the whole purpose of a demo reel is to show off things that you can do. So I was like, well, I can do creature noises. So I thought if I did some barking and was like a dog owner trying to get his dog to like go after the ball, and he's like waving it in front of his face, and this dog is just not having it. And so eventually the dog is just, and I'm going to have to turn myself down, quit waving that ball in front of my face! And so that's the section where I just scream as this dog, and then I come in very quietly and go, woof.
woof.
Yeah.
And that was
because it also shows up like a comedy thing. I love that skit. Like I'm very happy it's on the demo reel.
That wasn't a part of any project. That was just something that you came up with.
Because I made that demo reel before I had done very much of anything.
Oh, it's lovely. It's just perfect.
So I just wrote that. I recorded it in a small like. I think I recorded that at my old friend's apartment. They had like a makeshift booth out of like PVC pipe and like moving blankets. So put the mic in there, drop it down, record it, edit it myself. And people are like, "Oh, who made your demo?" I mean, yeah, it's great. I don't know.
But that's the thing, right? When you're recording audio, no one knows what the room looks like. So it can be, you can like put a chair on a table and have like cushions.
Yeah, like a pillow fort for a booth.
Exactly.
You could be in your closet. Yeah, as long as it sounds good, nobody knows where you did it. Like as long as it sounds like it was in a studio and it sounds like it was mixed by an engineer, you can, if you have the ability to put that together, you can do one yourself.
What would be a suggestion for any listener who might want to get into the voice acting business?
My biggest suggestion, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I want to do what they're doing, is you got to love it. That's kind of the key, is you have to love what you're doing. And I think that's true for pretty much any industry. It's not exclusive to voiceover. But in particular with a creative endeavor, you have to love what you're doing, because you are going to go through so many trials and so many tribulations, and you're going to have to hold down a job you don't want to pay the bills. You might have to couch hop. You're going to have to go through a bunch of people telling you, no, you're not good enough, or no, we're not interested, to get to the point where it becomes your primary source of income and you're able to do it for a living. The only way you get through that is if you have a genuine passion and love for this. So, of course, be a good actor, study, do all of those things. You'll hear that in every podcast. But what I try to give people advice on is, even if you're extremely talented, naturally gifted, if you aren't in love with what you're doing, you're not going to want to put up with the nonsense you're going to have to go through. And that's just the case in pretty much almost any industry. So love it, live it, do it. And if you're like, man, I guess I can't see myself doing anything else, then just throw yourself into it.
Yeah. And obviously love it, because you're going to go up against people who love it.
Exactly. Every single person who does this, no matter where in the world they are, because that's the cool thing about GTFO, is we're from all over the place. Every continent, every person, every actor will tell you, this is what I love to do.
Yeah. And it's hard to compete with that if you don't have that passion, that drive.
Exactly. Because every day they're out here, improving their craft, whether it's, even just whether they're playing D&D or they're doing improv or they're doing stage shows or whatever it is. They are constantly honing their craft and practicing. And it might not look like practice because they're having a blast doing it, but they are. And the reason that they love it is why it doesn't feel like work when you see them doing stuff.
Well, Edward, very nice talking to you.
No, it was a pleasure. And if I can request one thing from you guys, let people pick woods.
Well, it's yeah. I don't know how to respond to that.
That's just my personal request as I sign off.
It's an incentive for people to host games, I guess, because everyone obviously wants to be woods.
Yeah. Host the games. That's the trick. Be the server host.
No, but thank you for doing this little interview, and also thank you for being part of the game, because you're really part of the success here.
And thank you so much for having me. It's a blast. I love the game. I love the way it works. I love the way it plays, and I'm very happy to be a part of it and to play it.
Stay safe out there.
You too. Yeah, everybody stay safe. Wash your hands. Goodbye.
That was our chat with Edward Bosco, the voice of Woods in GTFO. Now, we interviewed the other 3 principal voice actors for a 10 Chambers Ambassador exclusive audio blog that was released in 2018. Make sure you catch the new voice clips we sprinkled in there that tease some of what's going to be revealed in Rundown 5. You'll get one right away.
I had a dream. Or a nightmare. There were these people. I don't know how, but I recognized them.
My name is Jude Akudike. I'm from London, but I was born in Nigeria, from the east part of Nigeria, but I've lived in England most of my life. So I'm both. I'm British and Nigerian. I've been in the business quite a long time, so I've done quite a lot, but most recently, I guess, film-wise, was Beasts of No Nation, television, Fortitude, Cucumber, The A Word, which is to come out, Kiri, and a few others. I've done a lot of radio and have done for many, many years. I do public announcements, I do radio drama.
The character Dada is determined, cunning, and always has a solution at hand. But he's also very secretive. His distinct Nigerian accent can be heard narrating the GTFO trailer that premiered at the 2017 Game Awards.
They want me to feel what they feel. They want me to suffer. They want to claw my eyes out, but there's chains holding them in place, so they spit at me instead.
I auditioned with a Nigerian accent, which comes naturally to me. My parents were Nigerian, our household was Nigerian. You know, when we were in the house, we would speak our native language. And so it's something that stayed familiar with me, even though I've been here many, many, many years.
I recall Jude saying during one of the recording sessions that he dials the accent back a bit to make it more understandable for those who are unfamiliar with it.
I've had a lifetime of having to sort of make it intelligible. And so, you know, you tend to opt for the more well-spoken kind of anglicized Nigerian.
We asked Jude how he prepares for a role and if he's channeling in a particular person or character when he records for GTFO.
Many actors will find different ways into things. I tend to be quite instinctive, and I read the script and I hear what is said about the character and so on, and then try to piece it together with a sort of sense of there is a little mind going on, but it is instinct. What tone his voice might be, what kind of metabolism he has or whatever. It sounds a bit pretentious and so on, but that's how I go. A lot of the information is supplied by the writer, who has, you know, obviously thought about the character at more depth than the actor meeting it for the first time.
We found out that GTFO is actually the first time that Jude provides his voice for a video game.
Yes, it's a completely new world to me, and it's quite an exciting new world. And getting used to your format of recording, which is quite different from radio and stuff, because, well, clearly you're dealing with computers and programming, so it's quite different. And it's fascinating for me to see all that.
We're of course delighted to know that by casting Jude in GTFO, we'll be introducing him to a new audience. But now...
These poor bastards were terrified that the Republic forces or what have you were going to take over the village and kill every last one of them, so I was told to keep them there until an envoy could evac, right? The thing is, I was also told I couldn't let them leave.
Let's meet our next actor. We asked him, what's your name and where you're from?
My name is Ronan Summers. Where I'm from is a little bit harder. My mother is American and my dad is Irish, so I grew up in both countries. When I was 18, I guess, I moved to the UK to go to drama school, then lived in London for 12 years after I finished drama school, and now I live in Cardiff in Wales, which is where we're recording from right now, which is about a mile from my house, which is awesome. And yeah, so all over the shop. I'm a multi-passport holder and a proper mongrel, but I guess American Irish by way of big swathes of UK is kind of the simplest answer. I've had so far littler parts in bigger movies like The Dark Knight and Guardians of the Galaxy and some other big movies like that, but then also sort of slightly bigger parts in smaller movies and TV shows, things like Spooks the Greater Good, You, Me and the Apocalypse, American Odyssey with Hannah Friel, which was on NBC and BBC Two. Video game-wise, sort of lots of big AAA titles. The first bit of big performance capture that I ever did with likeness and things like that, where you can see my ugly mug, was Battlefield 3. So I do some PCAP, but then I also do lots of voice games. So, you know, driving games like the Forza Horizon and Need for Speed games to lots of sort of gun games. I play a lot of American people, obviously. So I played Wesley in Wolfenstein: The Old Blood DLC for that, which was really fun for me because it was in a Welsh accent and I got to speak some German. I did a bit of work, which is how I met you guys, I guess, or how you knew about me on PAYDAY 2.
Thanks to his unique background and knack for accents, Ronan masters several dialects and he auditioned for GTFO, doing several different ones.
I think I auditioned for this originally, I believe, in an American accent of one shape or form, a London accent of some kind and then an Irish accent. And then when I came in to do another audition for you guys, the Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor fight was top of the headlines. So when I was coming in again to do that, I think I may have switched the accent up slightly because I thought I'd always wanted to do a Dublin accent in something, but it was always like, it's not an accent that people necessarily, unless you know it, go like, oh yeah, that's, you know, your stereotypical Irish accent. And the worst thing when you're doing accent work is when you've done all this work to try to get a very specific accent right, and then people just go, oh yeah, it's rubbish because it doesn't sound like the Lucky Charms guy.
Oh, fuck. Ah, Jesus. Fucking smells like one of you took a shit in here.
In the end, Ronan landed the role of Hackett, who's a character from Ireland. He's cynical and sarcastic, always finding humor even in the face of death. GTFO's writer, Adam Gascoigne, specifically wanted this gallows humor type personality to have an Irish voice.
I think the writer got it bang on, actually, which is that it's fairly close to a national pastime, cynicism in Ireland. So that voice and that simultaneous exasperation and resignation with and to the moment is really part of the national psyche. So you don't have to think far back into your emotional memory to hear those voices. So it's kind of easy to find. In terms of the appeal or the things that you look forward to with this, it's a really great, fun guy to let go with because he's so unguarded. And it's that typical, for me, like it's the stereotypical take no shit Dubliner who just assumes that everything's going to be terrible, and even when things are going his way, then he'll burst the bubble and crack a joke. And but also he'd be, you know, an incredibly loyal guy, and when push came to shove, he'd be, you know, first with his hand at the pumps.
I got trapped in the city by Esparza's forces, and I've been held hostage for 3 fucking years until you lot showed up. After that, I sat in front of some uniformed fuckwit for 4 hours, trying to explain that I'm the bloody victim here.
Our last main character is Bishop. Let's talk a little with a voice actor who portrays him.
My name is Jamie Ballard, and I live in London. My mother was a Highlander from Scotland, and my dad from southeast of England. I've been in TV shows such as Penny Dreadful, Ripper Street, and a film called Black Death. And I've done theatre jobs at the National Theatre, Hamlet, and plays such as Romeo and Juliet and A Midsummer Night's Dream at the Royal Shakespeare Company. Video game-wise, I've been in Rise, Son of Rome, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Dawn of War 3.
Bishop wants to get the job done quickly and precisely, and his teammates never seem to meet his high expectations. The character is extremely pragmatic and was initially supposed to be more emotionally detached, but Jamie infused a lot of restrained passion in his audition. We liked it so much, we ended up changing the character to match Jamie's interpretation.
Can't see the monsters. I bet they can see us.
When I sort of first saw what the character was like, very, very pragmatic, in a very broad sense, sort of imagining Lock, Stock, Snatch, those sort of kind of movies, and when chatting with you, we were trying to graphic equalise how sort of London gangster he was, and I loved how it was described as someone who one of his flaws is disloyalty and mistrust and alienating those who are close to him. That I found really interesting. He needs people to help him, but that in itself is troublesome because he finds it very, very hard to relate to other people. They need to be almost clones of himself for him to be able to work with them. If you want a job done properly, do it yourself. I think he's very much in that school, that it's just straight to the point, and it's just not making him a caricature, making him a real person, and that is what is just so enjoyable. It's just a lovely character to play, and I've smiled a lot doing this.
That was us talking to the 4 main voice actors of GTFO. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll leave it to Edward Bosco to say goodbye.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out the interview. If you want more updates on the game, go to gtfothegame.com and be sure to check out the newest update coming April 29th. Don't miss it.